Okay, so remember, as always, you guys can always turn your mic on and just ask any questions if you have any questions. But what we're going to do is work on systems. So just to kind of recap where we were doing, we had some exponents and radicals the last couple of class periods. We also did our polynomials and talked about them, classifying them in different ways. And then we just did a Kahoot on factoring. And so now we are going to do a short lesson on systems, solving systems of equations. So a system is when we have more than one equation and we're trying to come up with the magical solution that I can plug in for X and Y to make this true and also make this true at the same time, okay? Because this has an infinite amount of solutions and so does this, but oftentimes there's only one set of solutions that works for both of them. So there's three ways that we can solve these systems: graphing, substitution, and elimination. So I'm going to start off by graphing. Okay, so I want to solve this first system here for 1A, solve that system by graphing. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to graph 3x minus 2 on the graph here. So that's in slope-intercept form. Remember from the glory days of Algebra 1, y-intercept is -2, slope is 3. So I have y-intercept is -2. I go up 3 and over 1. And I just continue that. So from that point, I go up 3 and over 1. Up 3 and over 1, up 3 and over 1. So here is our red line. And of course, any point on that line satisfies this equation. So if you took the coordinates of anywhere along that line, it's going to make that a true statement. But I'm also going to graph this one in blue and see if they intersect. So I have a y-intercept of 9 and a slope of -2/3. So I start up here at +9. And remember, my slope is -2/3. So I'm going to go down 2 and over 3. If I go down 2 and over 3, and from there, again, I could go down 2 and over 3, but I already think I have a pretty good graph, and I feel fairly confident of where they intersect. So don't do all the work and not answer the question. So to solve it, we're looking for the coordinates right here. And so just reading it, its x is 1, 2, 3, and our y is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 3, 7 is our solution. And you can always check that by plugging the numbers back in. You know, 3 times 3 is 9, minus 2 is 7. It works in the first one. In the second one, if I plug a 3 in there, the 3's cancel, I get -2 plus 9, I do get 7. It works in the second one. That's the magical set. And it's the only one that works for both equations. All right, any questions? All right. Second one is similar, but it's just jumbled up a little bit. So to write it in slope-intercept form, the top I'm going to write as y equals -2x plus 4, just so I have it in mx plus b form. To do the next one, I'll move the 2x over, so I have y equals -2x plus 8. So I can see already these two lines are going to be parallel. Not only can I see they're going to be parallel, they're not going to intersect because they have different y-intercepts. So the red one has a y-intercept of 4 and a slope of 2. So that's going to look like that. And the blue one has the same slope but a y-intercept of 8.
Isn't it negative?
I'm sorry? Oh,
Isn't it
negative 2. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I got an echo in your voice there. Thank you. The slope is negative 2x. Thank you very much. So my y-intercept is 4, and I'm going down 2 and over 1 in that direction. Thank you. All right, and our blue one is going to be a parallel line because it has the same slope, but it has a different y-intercept. So that line is going to look just like the red one, but they don't intersect each other. Therefore, there are no real solutions. Okay, there are no numbers that you can plug in for x and y that make both of those work. And if they happen to be the same line, if they lined on top of each other, then our solution would be all of the values on those lines. All right, so I'm going to jump down to problem 2, and where we're doing some substitution or elimination. Now, any of these 3 different processes will work for any of the problems, but some are more advantageous than others. For example, problem 2a, this one looks set up for a substitution. Because it already says y equals 2x plus 3, I can take that and substitute it into the second one, and the algebra should be fairly straightforward. So I'm going to do that substitution. The bottom is going to be 3x minus 2, but instead of now the y, I'm going to write 2x plus 3 because I substituted 2x plus 3 in for y. And that equals negative 5. All right, so I just made that substitution, and now I'm just going to roll with the algebra. So I'll distribute my negative 2, so I get negative 4x minus 6 is equal to negative 5. And so I got x is equal to negative 1. It's only half my answer, though, but it is the hard half. The other one is easier to find. Now I take negative 1, and I can plug it into either equation. But again, it's easier to plug into the top one than the bottom one, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to plug negative 1 in for x there. So we get y equals 2 times negative 1 plus 3, or y equals 1. And so our solution, as an ordered pair, is negative 1, 1. All right, for 2b, again, that looks like a pretty good substitution question. Before I move on to 2b, are there any questions on part A? All right, well then I'm going to take this and plug it in for my y. Now you got to be careful when you do this because it has that minus sign out front. Make sure that you put in parentheses the negative 2x minus 1 because I'm going to have to distribute that negative sign. And so now I'm going to distribute that negative sign. So I have 2x plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 3x plus 1. So my x comes out to be 0. So again, I'll substitute that 0 back into here. So then my y is going to be -1. So my solution set is 0, -1. And you can always check those by plugging them back into the values. All right, part C. I could do this substitution, but this looks like an elimination problem because I notice that this is -6 and that's -3. So if I could make this like a +6, I could add the two equations down and my y's would cancel. So for example, if I multiplied everything up top by -2, my top equation could be rewritten as -10x plus 6y is equal to -4. And so now I'm going to use this equation and this equation. I'm going to add those two together to eliminate the y's. So if I'm simply adding down in my 3 columns, I have -8x, 6y minus 6y cancels. And remember, -4 and -4 and -4 is going to be -8. And so x comes out to be 1. Halfway home. So I need to substitute that 1 back into any of the equations. So it really doesn't matter. I'll plug it back into this middle one. So that's going to be 5 times 1, which is 5, minus 3y is going to equal to 2. And now I'm solving for y. So my solution, my ordered pair, comes out to be 1, 1. Now looking at D, I could use a substitution. I could use elimination. It's not really set up particularly nice for either one. But if I were to rearrange the top equation, that would be, if I move the 3x over, I would have -3x plus 2y is equal to -4. So I rewrote that first equation. Now the bottom equation, if I were to multiply everything there by 3, that's going to give us positive 3x plus 9y is equal to 15. And so now those two equations are set up nicely for elimination, so I can add them down. Now if you add them down, the 3x's cancel, and I get 11y is equal to 11, or y comes out to be 1. We have half the answer, so now I want to plug that back in. I'll plug it into the bottom equation here. I get x plus 3, because it's 3 times 1, equals 5, or x equals 2. So our solution is, whoops, don't forget to write them in order. X is 2 and Y is 1. All right, any questions on any of those four? All right, so what I want to do now is I want to check maybe some of these or do some of them, especially these ugly looking 3x3s, by using my calculator. Okay, so I'm gonna spread the screen out here for just a moment. And on my calculator, I'm going to pull that out. Now, on the graphic calculator on the TI Inspire that's on your iPad, it doesn't quite let you split screen as nicely as some of the other things, but you can pull it over and at least be able to look. And in fact, you can blow it up and still write on this. Okay, so it is a split screen, but it doesn't give a very big picture in your notability. But what I want to do is I'm going to solve this system of equations using my graphing calculator. Your graphing calculator, it can do so many things that could save you a lot of time if you get handy with it. But there's a little toolbar towards the upper left corner of the screen, the little wrench. If you click that, there are a couple of things that you probably want to get used to. The actions, you can clear history is one of them, just to get rid of your screen and things like that. So that's usually the one that you would use mostly in there. But the third one down, algebra, there are some really good functions in here. Okay, you can solve things, it can factor for you. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Expand, find zeros, but I'm gonna go down to where it says solve system of equations. And oftentimes we have 2x2 systems. So that would be like the second choice where it says solve a system. But we're gonna do, I'm gonna hit the top one. You know, we are doing 3 equations. Sorry, I gotta get some stuff out of the way here. All right, there we go. So I have 3 equations and it's gonna automatically say X, Y, and Z. I'll hit OK. And notice what it pulls up here in the box. So I'm gonna go back and get that 3x3 up here.
What's that app called again?
TI Inspire. It's the letter N, SPIRE. And it should be in your self-service. So I'm just going to type this in the way it looks. So I have X. So my X is down there. I have X plus 2Y. Now I don't have a Y on my screen, but if you click X and hold it down, there's a Y. Plus 2Z is equal to 2. So that's my first equation. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I wrote the wrong equation. X plus 2Y minus 3Z. I was writing the wrong one. Is equal to 6. Okay, so I just wrote that top equation. X plus 2Y minus 3Z is equal to 6. Our second equation, 3X minus 5Y plus Z is equal to negative 3. My last equation, negative 2X plus 3Y plus 2Z is equal to 2. And that's the hard part, is typing it in. Because once I hit enter, there it goes. It gives me my answers. Now that would be a really hard problem to do by hand. Okay, but using your calculator certainly makes it a little easier, or much easier. So just to go through that process again, let's pick this one that we did. Okay, we already know for problem 2A, we know what the solution is, but just to practice, I'm going to go to the tool, and I'm still in my system. So, you know, again, just to show you where it's at, it's in algebra and system of equations, and this is a 2x2 system. So I'll hit OK. So y equals 2x plus 3. And our second equation was 3x minus 2y is equal to negative 5. Hit enter. And there's the answer, same we got doing it by hand. All right, you guys have any questions on the calculator parts?
I have a question. So you know how you're showing us to use a calculator? So are we allowed to use the calculator on the test?
Yeah, good question. So when we take the quiz, I'll ask you to do one or two of them by hand, and then I'll give you some big crazy one with crazy numbers where I'll have you do those by calculator. So for example, the two examples we have on the screen, the top one would be a calculator question because those answers would be really hard to do by hand. But the bottom one would be something you should be able to do by hand.
What about if you don't know how to use a calculator? Because I'm not using the iPad one. I'm using the regular one.
The regular Inspire?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me just a, who am I speaking to? Is this
Vince.
All right, Vince. I'm glad you asked because you're probably not the only one. Now let me just make sure that you guys can see. All right, Vince, you can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what your handheld
Mm-hmm.
looks like. Give me that screen here. Whoops. All right, so when you turn your calculator on, you are probably at this page here, okay? And we want to get a calculator. So I'm gonna hit calculate or just hit enter here. And it pulls me into my calculator screen, okay? So now here are the exact same buttons that we used. In here under menu, here are the actions where I showed you before that you could clear the history and things. But what we use a lot is the algebra. So in algebra, you'll go down to solve system of equations. And this is the exact same thing that we had just done on the iPad. Okay, so if I wanted to solve a system, two equations, two unknowns, and it just pulls it up. So like we just did on the iPad, we did y equals 2x plus 3. And 3x minus 2y equals negative 5. And there it is. Okay, so to answer your question, you need to know how to do it on your calculator. And I'll help you. I'll show you how to do that. Just let me know what questions that you have, and I'll help and walk you through it, okay?
Can you just show us?
I'm sorry, did somebody had a question there? Did you say one more time?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Are you on a calculator screen?
Yes.
Okay. So under menu, which is here, You want to go to algebra
Yeah.
and then solve system of equations.
Got it.
And then if the top one would be if you're going to do a 3x3 or a 4x4 or whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so I could click there and I could make it 3 equations and it will do X, Y, and Z. And I can solve there.
Got it.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, anything else, guys?